The clinking of glasses, the hum of conversations, and the aroma of roasted garlic filled the luxurious Italian restaurant La Bellissima. Every evening, the place glowed with chandeliers and laughter from its wealthy clientele. To the diners, it was a sanctuary of elegance, a spot where businessmen signed contracts, couples celebrated anniversaries, and socialites flaunted their designer dresses. But for Lily, it was a battlefield. She was 24, wearing the same simple black and white uniform as the other servers. Her hair was tied back in a neat ponytail, her shoes slightly worn, and her hands always full, plates in one, a tray in the other. Customers rarely looked her in the eyes. To them, she was just the help. "Excuse me, waitress. We've been waiting for water for 5 minutes," barked a sharply dressed woman at table 3. Lily forced a smile. "Of course, ma'am. I'll bring it right away." The woman rolled her eyes, whispering something to her companion that made them both laugh. Lily felt her cheeks burn, but swallowed the sting. She had learned long ago that in this restaurant, respect didn't come with the uniform. Tonight, though, was worse than usual. At table 7 sat a group of young executives, their suits pressed to perfection, their watches gleaming under the lights. Among them was Ethan Ward, a name Lily knew well. Ethan wasn't just any customer. He was the arrogant son of a wealthy investor, famous for treating staff like they were beneath him. "Lily!" one of the other waiters whispered sharply. "Ethan's asking for you. Table 7. Her stomach tightened. She balanced the tray and walked over. "Well, look who it is." Ethan smirked, leaning back in his chair as his friends chuckled. "The invisible waitress. Tell me, Lily, do you ever get tired of serving people better than you?" His words were laced with cruelty, but his friends roared with laughter, as if he'd said the cleverest thing in the world. Lily kept her composure. "What can I get for you this evening, sir?" "2 bottles of your most expensive red wine," Ethan said, flashing a smug grin. "Oh, and don't trip on the way back. Wouldn't want you to embarrass yourself more than usual." Her hands trembled slightly as she jotted it down. She turned, keeping her chin up, determined not to give him the satisfaction of seeing her break. But his words clung to her like shadows. This was her life every night, mocked, underestimated, invisible, and yet none of them knew the truth. None of them knew who she really was. Lily wasn't just a waitress at La Bellissima. She was the silent owner of the entire restaurant. Lily slipped into the staff room, her hands shaking slightly as she set the tray down. She leaned against the wall, inhaling deeply, forcing her heartbeat to slow. To the others, she was just another server trying to get through the night. But inside her chest, she carried a secret, heavier than any tray of food. This restaurant wasn't just her workplace. It was her legacy. Her late father, Christopher Hayes, had been a visionary. Years ago, when La Bellissima was just a struggling little cafe tucked on a quiet corner of the city, he had poured his entire savings into it. While others doubted him, he worked day and night, turning the cafe into one of the city's most prestigious fine dining restaurants. Every chandelier, every velvet chair, every glass panel, it all carried the touch of his dream. When he passed away, suddenly 2 years ago, the restaurant had been left in Lily's name. She remembered sitting in the lawyer's office, papers spread out in front of her, her hands trembling as the words sunk in, sole owner. But with ownership came pressure. Investors circled like vultures. Employees whispered about her inexperience, and everyone expected her to fail. Lily wasn't just inheriting a business. She was inheriting her father's dream, and she was terrified of destroying it. So she made a decision. Instead of stepping into the spotlight as the new owner, she disguised herself as a waitress. She wanted to learn from the ground up, to see how the restaurant really functioned, what customers complained about, how staff were treated, where improvements were needed. She believed only by walking in their shoes could she truly honor her father's legacy. But the cost was high. It meant enduring humiliation from rude guests like Ethan. It meant keeping her true identity a secret from most of the staff. Only the manager, Mr. Collins, knew the truth, and he kept her confidence faithfully. To everyone else, Lily was just another server who worked extra shifts and kept her head down. As Lily poured glasses of wine at Ethan's table, his mocking laughter cut through her thoughts. "Tell me, Lily," he said, swirling his glass dramatically, "do you ever dream of being more than a waitress? Or is this your grand ambition, cleaning up after us?" His friend smirked. Enjoying the spectacle, Lily forced a polite smile. "Dreams are funny things, sir. Sometimes they're closer than you think." The remark made Ethan frown for a second, but he quickly brushed it off with another arrogant chuckle. Later that night, after closing time, Lily stayed behind to help stack chairs. The staff trickled out one by one until only Mr. Collins remained. He walked over, concern etched on his face. "They gave you a hard time again, didn't they?" he asked softly. Lily shrugged, hiding the sting. "I can handle it. They don't know." Mr. Collins nodded. "But one day they will. And when that day comes, I hope I'm there to see Ethan Ward's face." Lily gave a small smile, but her mind was elsewhere. She thought of her father's photo hanging in the office upstairs, the one she visited whenever she needed courage. His voice echoed in her memory. "Respect is earned, Lily, not demanded. Build it with your actions, and the world will see your worth." As she walked home that night through the quiet streets, the city lights reflecting in puddles at her feet, she knew something had to change. She couldn't hide forever. She couldn't let people like Ethan believe she was beneath them. One day soon, she would reveal the truth, and when she did, the laughter would stop. The following week at La Bellissima was busier than ever. A well-known food critic had announced a surprise visit, and the staff buzzed with nervous energy. Everyone knew a single review could change the fate of the restaurant. Lily worked twice as hard, making sure every table sparkled, every glass shone. She corrected small mistakes quietly, fixing a misfolded napkin here, polishing a fork there. She blended into the background, but her eyes missed nothing. And yet, Ethan was there again. Every night, he arrived with his circle of wealthy friends. They took the best table by the window, ordered the most expensive wine, and treated the staff like disposable toys. Ethan was always the loudest, his arrogance filling the air like smoke. On one particular night, as the restaurant brimmed with important guests, Ethan raised his voice, louder than ever. "Lily!" he barked, snapping his fingers. Lily walked over calmly. "Yes, sir," he smirked, holding up his glass. "This wine isn't chilled enough. Do you even know how to serve properly? Or did they just pick you up off the street?" A few nearby guests turned their heads, whispering. Lily's cheeks warmed, but she kept her composure. "I'll bring a fresh bottle right away, sir." But Ethan wasn't done. He leaned back in his chair, his friends laughing beside him. "Honestly, I don't know why this place keeps servers like you. If I were running this restaurant, you'd be gone in a second." The words cut deeper than he could have imagined. If only he knew. Lily placed the new bottle on the table with steady hands. "Enjoy your evening, sir." Inside, though, something cracked. Later that night, after the rush had slowed, Lily slipped into the staff hallway. She pressed her back against the cool wall, her hands trembling. Mr. Collins found her there, concern clouding his features. "Ethan again?" he asked. Lily nodded, her voice low. "He doesn't just mock me, Collins. He mocks everything my father built." Every word he says feels like he's spitting on my father's dream. Mr. Collins placed a hand on her shoulder. Then maybe it's time you stop hiding, Lily. You can't keep letting him do this. But Lily shook her head. Not yet. I need the right moment. If I reveal myself now, it will look like pride. No, I'll wait until the truth will silence him forever. The breaking point came 2 nights later. The restaurant was hosting a private gala with business leaders, celebrities, and reporters in attendance. It was the perfect chance to show the world La Bellissima's brilliance. The air buzzed with energy. Glasses clinked, and laughter filled the hall. And then Ethan arrived. He swaggered in wearing a sharp suit. His arm linked with a glamorous woman. He spotted Lily immediately, his smirk widening. "Ah, my favorite servant!" he called across the room, loud enough for half the guests to hear. "I hope you don't embarrass us tonight." Guests turned, eyes narrowing at his cruelty. Lily's chest tightened, but she forced a calm smile and bowed slightly. "Good evening, sir." As the night went on, Ethan continued his spectacle, demanding extra dishes, sending plates back untouched, and criticizing every detail, loudly enough for others to hear. He seemed determined to ruin the night. Finally, during the dessert course, disaster struck. The head chef, nervous under pressure, accidentally sent out a soufflé that collapsed slightly in the middle. Ethan seized the opportunity. He stood up, slamming his fork against the plate. "This is unacceptable. A restaurant of this reputation, and they serve this?" The room fell silent. Ethan turned toward Lily, his finger pointing like a dagger. "And you, bring me the manager. I want every staff member here to see how pathetic this place has become." Whispers rippled through the crowd. Lily's heart pounded. She glanced toward Mr. Collins, who gave her a subtle nod. Enough was enough. Lily stepped forward, her voice steady but strong. "There's no need to call the manager, Mr. Ward." Ethan sneered. "Oh, and why not? What could a servant like you possibly do?" Lily straightened her posture, her eyes locking onto his. For the first time, her voice carried across the entire hall. "Because I am not just a server." She paused, letting the silence hang. "I am Lily Hayes, the owner of La Bellissima." Gasps erupted. Guests turned in their seats, jaws dropping. The staff froze, staring at her in shock. Even the chef peeked out from the kitchen, wide-eyed. Ethan's smug grin faltered. "What nonsense is this? You? The owner?" Lily walked closer, her gaze unwavering. "My father built this restaurant from nothing. He left it in my hands when he passed. And I chose to work as a waitress, to understand what it takes to run this place. Not just from an office, but from the floor itself." Her voice grew stronger. "So when you mocked me, Ethan, you weren't mocking a servant. You were mocking the very person who keeps these doors open. And tonight, everyone here knows the truth." The hall erupted in whispers, then applause. Guests nodded approvingly, some even standing to clap. Ethan's face burned red. His confidence shattered under the weight of her revelation. The woman at his side slipped her arm away, embarrassed. Lily gave him one final look, her tone cold but calm. "Respect is earned, Mr. Ward, and tonight you've lost yours." She turned to the guests, bowing slightly. "Please, enjoy the rest of your evening. La Bellissima will always stand for excellence and dignity." The crowd cheered, and the music resumed. The energy shifted, brighter than before, but for Ethan, the night was over. He stormed out, humiliated, his downfall sealed. And Lily, she walked back to the staff, her head held high. For the first time, she wasn't hiding. For the first time, she felt free. The morning after the gala, the entire city buzzed with one story. Social media platforms exploded with posts, videos, and comments about La Bellissima. Guests who had attended the event shared clips of Lily's reveal, and within hours, millions had seen it. Owner disguised as waitress shocks arrogant guest. Humiliated rich man storms out after waitress reveals she owns the restaurant. The headlines spread like wildfire. For Lily, the restaurant's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters wanted interviews. Influencers wanted partnerships. Customers called, begging for reservations. In a single night, La Bellissima had become the most talked about restaurant in the city. But for Ethan, the consequences were brutal. At his office, his colleagues whispered behind his back. His boss, furious that Ethan's behavior had gone viral, suspended him indefinitely. Clients who once shook his hand now avoided his calls. His glamorous girlfriend dumped him within a day, unwilling to be tied to public disgrace. Ethan's arrogance, the weapon he had always wielded, had finally destroyed him. Meanwhile, Lily walked into La Bellissima that afternoon with a quiet smile. For the first time in weeks, she didn't wear her waitress uniform. Instead, she wore a sleek black dress and heels. The staff clapped when she entered, their faces full of pride. Mr. Collins grinned. "About time you showed them who you are." Lily chuckled softly. "I didn't plan it this way, Collins, but he pushed me too far. Now the secret's out." The head chef approached, nervously wringing his hands. "Ms. Hayes, I hope I didn't ruin things with that soufflé." Lily shook her head warmly. "On the contrary, chef. That mistake gave me the chance to tell the truth. You didn't ruin anything. You helped me." The chef's eyes widened in relief, and the staff laughed lightly, the tension finally gone. That evening, reservations overflowed. Guests lined up outside the restaurant, eager to experience the place run by the mysterious young woman who had stunned the world. Inside, Lily moved gracefully between tables, not as a server, but as a leader, thanking customers and shaking hands. And yet, she couldn't shake the memory of Ethan's face, the disbelief, the shame, the fury. Something told her he wasn't finished. She was right. 2 nights later, as the restaurant thrived with its new fame, Ethan returned. This time, he came alone. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his hair unkempt. He looked nothing like the arrogant man who once barked orders across the room. He stood at the entrance, hesitant, before finally approaching Lily. "Lily," he muttered, his voice low. "Can we talk?" The staff stiffened, ready to step in, but Lily raised a hand. "It's fine." She led him to a quiet corner table, away from the crowd. Ethan sat down heavily, his eyes avoiding hers. "I didn't know," he said finally, his tone strained. "If I had known you were the owner," Lily interrupted, her voice calm but firm, "you would have treated me differently." "That's the problem, Ethan. Respect shouldn't depend on someone's title." Ethan flinched at her words. For the first time, the arrogance was gone. He looked smaller, weaker. "I lost everything, Lily. My job, my friends, my reputation. Please, I just want a chance to make things right." Lily studied him for a long moment. Part of her felt pity. This was a man who had been raised on pride and privilege, now stripped of both. But another part of her remembered every insult, every humiliation he had thrown at her. "You made your choices," she said finally, "and now you're living with the consequences. I don't hate you, Ethan, but I can't erase what you did. The best thing you can do is learn from it." Her tone was firm, but not cruel. Ethan nodded slowly, his shoulders sagging. For the first time, his eyes filled with something new, regret. He stood to leave, his voice quiet. "Thank you for listening." As he walked out, Lily exhaled, her chest lighter than before. She hadn't just revealed her identity. She had faced him, not with anger, but with strength. That night, as she sat in her office, Lily wrote in her father's old leather notebook, the one he used to track his dreams for La Bellissima. "Tonight, I learned something," she wrote. "Power isn't about revenge. It's about dignity. The world may mock you, but if you stand tall, the truth will silence them." She closed the notebook and placed it back on the shelf. Outside her window, the city lights glittered. Alive with possibility, Lily knew this was only the beginning. Months passed, but the story of the waitress, who turned out to be the owner of La Bellissima, didn't fade. Instead, it grew into something larger, a symbol. Newspapers called Lily Hayes the hidden heiress. Bloggers called her the queen of humility. Young entrepreneurs looked up to her as proof that success didn't require arrogance, only determination and grace. The restaurant had never been busier. Reservations were booked weeks in advance, and celebrities who once ignored Lily now begged for a table. But Lily didn't let fame change her. She still arrived early, still checked the kitchen herself, still treated every staff member with respect. One evening, as she walked through the dining hall, she overheard a little girl whisper to her mother, "Mommy, she's the owner. But she's so kind. She even smiles at the waiters." Lily's heart swelled. That was the legacy she wanted. Not wealth, not power, but inspiration. Meanwhile, Ethan had vanished from the public eye. Rumors spread that he had moved out of the city, humbled and disgraced. Some whispered he was trying to rebuild his life quietly, away from the cameras. Lily didn't know if it was true, and honestly, she didn't care. His story had ended, but hers was only beginning. One Sunday afternoon, Lily gathered her staff in the private dining room. The table was filled with coffee, pastries, and laughter. The people who once thought of her as just the waitress now looked at her with admiration. "I want to thank all of you," Lily said, her voice warm. "This restaurant was my father's dream. But today, it's more than that. It's proof that kindness can outshine arrogance, that dignity can silence cruelty, and that no one should ever be judged by appearances." Her staff clapped, some with tears in their eyes. After the meeting, Lily stepped outside. The city was alive as always. Honking cars, flashing lights, endless movement. She pulled out her father's leather notebook, running her fingers over the worn cover. "I hope you're proud of me, Dad," she whispered. "I kept the dream alive." She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the cool night breeze brush her face. In that stillness, she felt something she hadn't in years: peace. Weeks later, La Bellissima hosted a charity dinner. Guests arrived in glamorous gowns and sharp tuxedos. But this time, the focus wasn't on wealth. It was on giving back. Lily had organized the event to fund scholarships for young chefs who couldn't afford culinary school. As she took the stage, the room fell silent. Cameras flashed. Deed that success was about money, titles, and appearances. But I learned the hard way that none of those things matter. True success is measured by how you treat people when you think no one is watching. Tonight, we're not here to celebrate me. We're here to give others the chance to chase their dreams. The audience erupted in applause. Donations poured in, exceeding every expectation. The event didn't just elevate the restaurant. It turned Lily into a beloved public figure. By the end of the night, as guests left smiling, Lily stood in the quiet hall of her restaurant. The chandeliers sparkled above her, reflecting off the marble floor. For the first time, she felt she had not only honored her father's memory, but also built her own legacy. She thought back to the night Ethan mocked her. She remembered the sting of humiliation, the way the guests had laughed, and then she remembered the silence when she revealed the truth. That silence had been the turning point. Not just for her reputation, but for her life. She smiled to herself. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't anger. It's success, and Lily Hayes had achieved it all. With grace, with dignity, and with strength that no arrogance could ever destroy. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing stories.